What's up, everybody? We're back. It's week 6. Week 6 now. Season's flying by. That's a third of the way over on 18 weeks. Week 6 was a third of the way through.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun lately for me.
2-game win streak.
2-game win streak. In fact, you won as well. I'm not sure how these work. I've never had a single things before.
I was ready for it to pop.
I thought so too. Warm champagne.
Victory.
Victory. Real quick, last week's housekeeping notes. Congratulations to the high score that was you last week, 166.4. That's the highest high score we've had so far. That puts our week average at 112. I went 2-4 last week. You went 4-2. We both lost on Palmer and Jack. We both won on me and you. Burrow was the high scorer at 43.1. Cousins was the highest bench scorer at 41. Darnold got started ahead of him, and he got 4 points, and Dagmar lost by 24. So that's a big coaching interest. So we do the average score every week. You have any interest in playing against a league median every week? So you get two wins or 2 losses, or a win and a loss, or whatever. And so like Pat, for instance, last week, you would have been 2-0 last week. Pat would have been 1-1 because he lost to you. And the one league I was in a couple years ago did that, and I didn't like it at first, but then it's kind of cool if you're like at that 110 mark and you're watching a Monday night game, hoping everyone sucks to pull the score down, but it didn't happen that often. There wasn't a whole lot that way. Abbott retained the crown. And that was pretty much it. We, you and I were the only ones in our division to win. So our division did not do well last week.
Our division is rough.
Very much so, which is good for us, but it's not fantastic for those guys. The other division seems legit. We also, well, no, I can't say that. Well, Pat lost McCaffrey, and Jeff lost a bunch of people. I can't keep a receiving core healthy. I haven't had all 3 top receivers playing together yet this year. But I beat Jeff 136-111. That's just for. I'm sorry, I beat Kurt 136-111. That's Kurt's first loss. Big day out of T. Higgins, 24 points. Denver defense had 20. He had 16 out of Allen. Allen he's not dominating like.
Allen got knocked out on the field and then came back.
Oh, wow! I didn't know that.
It was
He missed a few plays then, or they just shuffled him back in quick.
It was, I want to say, 3rd down, so maybe they punted.
I see.
And then the next series, I think Trubisky was in for 1 play. And somehow, but he was out cold. Head off ground.
And he finished the game.
Head off ground, out cold, comes back in, and then doesn't complete a pass for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, there you have it. Maybe one has something to do with the other. Abbott beats Tags 120-96. Tags doesn't hit that 100-point mark. Abbott's 4-1. Tags is 1-4. Is it a panic alert time now?
I think it's time to panic for Tags. The only thing he has going for him, like we talked about, division's bad, so he's only a game back.
He's only a game back. Joey beat Jack. Jack not with the lowest score. Jack had 74. Joey had 102. Joey's also 4-1. Jack went to 2-3. That was a big game for us because he was like quietly sneaking up the charts. You beat Pat in a monstrous game. You won 166-141. Pat would have beat everybody. So he just had the bad luck of the draw, which is sort of his season. He's also 1-4. I feel like Pat has a better chance to break out. He has Burrow. He has Drake London. They're both 1-4 though. So you panicking if you're Pat as well, or what are you doing there?
No. I mean, same as Tags. He's only one. I think, like you said, Pat's team's a little better, but he's only 1 game back.
Yeah. And if McCaffrey comes back in a couple of weeks, no one knows what's happening with that. So Jeff also won 113 to 103. It moves Jeff to 3-2. It puts Bry at 1-4. So there's a bunch of 1-4 teams. Bry, on the other hand, though, he has Baker, who's been doing well,
Yep.
and then DeAndre Swift, who was awful and talking about he was losing his job. He had 2 spectacular games since then. Do you have any idea who the highest scorer for Jeff was last week? Brian Thomas, 24 points. Jaden Daniels with 20. Kyle Pitts with 12. That's like a fantastic game for Pitts. Last game of the slate, Stu won 108 to 73. So Palmer had the lowest score of the week. 19 out of Prescott, 16 out of Cook, 12 out of Pittman. I think Cook is hurt. I know Pittman's hurt. So
Aaron Jones is hurt.
He's going to have some work to do. As far as Stu, 41 out of Chase, 20 out of Evans. I'm like so gassy. I'm burping like crazy because of the champagne. It's so good. I love champagne.
Well, last week you were
I was sneezing. And I took an allergy pill before that. It's not as hot and stuffy down here today, so I'm happy to say that. I wanted to ask you a question. So as far as the free agents have gone, and I can't find it here, league transaction history. Is it? No, recent activity is what I'm looking for. So there's been a big free agent every week. Who was it this week? It was something crazy.
Tank Bigsby.
57. I bid 3. So Tank Bigsby went for 57. Isaiah Likely went for 40-some.
Shaheed 40.
All these big guys, and it seems like they kind of fall off shortly thereafter. You noticing a trend with that, or is it just people are overbidding because they're desperate, or what are your thoughts on that situation?
I mean, I think it goes both ways. Like those 3 guys we named, Likely, he had a huge week, a couple down weeks. He had 2 touchdowns last week.
But he's not getting started because he was so bad.
Yeah. But he's back up within top tight ends. Shaheed, I bid 40 on him. I
drafted him in the last round.
He had a couple good weeks. I bid a bunch. He got me 0. And then the next 2 weeks, he's got over 12 points or 13 points.
So again, I got Roschon Johnson for 35. He had
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns, but like 3 yards total, which is fine. I'll take the touchdowns.
So, yeah, I think people are overbidding if they have a need. And it seems like the guys they're bidding on are having decent games after the fact, but they're not, first or second rounders. Yeah.
Braylon Allen, 28.
Bigsby had 2 touchdowns. Actually, one of the most, I think, disappointing players is Etienne.
I would agree with that. Real quick, Carson Steele for 26. I think he's actually back on the free agent list.
That's
Derek Carr for 36. That's steep for a quarterback. You said Shaheed for 42. So there's legit money. But yeah, Etienne has not looked good. But this is DeAndre Swift now. I expect Etienne to get 2 touchdowns and pave the way for himself to get back into relevance. Yeah, so we are, it's about that time, everybody's favorite time for the
Week 6 Power Rankings.
And I pre-did mine, so if you want me to...
I don't think there'll be a lot of surprises here. Coming at number 12.
I have Tags.
That's correct.
Lost 3 in a row.
You lose 3 in a row. 1 in, 3? We talked about it. 1 and 4. He's still not out of it just because of the division, but it's been a bad month for him. So hopefully October is better. Coming in at number 11.
I have Bry.
You are correct. Bry Guy also loses a 3, and unlike Tags, Bry Guy's in the varsity division.
Yeah, he might be out.
Bry Guy's the only team with a losing record in his division.
And they were both 12 and 11 last week, so no change.
And they both lost, lose 3 in a row. So, yep, coming in at number 10.
I think this is a change for us. I put Pat.
I have Pat as well.
Oh, see, I thought I gave myself the benefit of the doubt because I doubled Pat's wins, so I moved myself up an extra spot. Pat went from 9 to 10.
Pat loses. It's his 2nd loss in a row. Now, granted, we talked about it. He had the 2nd highest score of the week, but 2 losses in a row. Other than Tags, Bry Guy's longest losing streak. So again, like we talked about, still only one game back, so we'll see. Can move. Coming at number 9,
Put myself up from 10.
you would be wrong again.
Oh, well, that's the first time I'm wrong.
Well, coming in at 9, I have another team with
Palmer?
2 in a row, losing 2 in a row, Palmer.
So he was at 6. That's why I didn't drop him so far, but
It's a 2-game losing streak now.
yeah.
He actually still is tied for second in our division at 2 and 3, but it's hard to move him up any further than that with the losing record.
For sure.
Coming off 2 losses. Coming in number 8.
Is this where I'm at?
Nope.
Jeez, I jumped up big time. I would think the next logical one is Stu, but is it Jack?
You are correct. It is Jack.
Yeah. So again, he was 5, so I didn't want to move him down too much. But this is your day.
It was Jack, and I think part of it, we talked about it. He was, the lowest scoring team last week?
Second to lowest by a point this week. Or no, he was lowest this week.
He was he was the lowest. And his lineup's beat up. We talked about ETN. George Pickens isn't doing it. Cortland Sutton's another receiver who just,
Now, you can't really
I don't
expect
love-
much out of Sutton.
So I think there's a lot of holes in Jack's team. Sitting at 2 and 3. Again, he'll be in the race for the division, but I don't love where he's at right now. Coming in at number 7.
That has to be me. I think everybody else won.
You are correct. That is you. Wanted to bump you a little higher. It's hard to bump that quick up.
Especially with Nico being out. I don't love that. That hurts bad.
Did lose Nico, but you won 2 in a row. And actually, one of my favorite fantasy players this year, you got him, and that is your running back number 1. Chuba Hubbard. He had a bad first week, but since then he's been one of the best in the league. He scores a touchdown pretty much every week.
Carolina got so much better with that quarterback change.
And I'm hoping that they don't do anything with Chuba since he's running so good when the rookie comes back.
If they made the move with Bryce, I can't imagine them rushing Jonathan Brooks in.
Coming in at number 6.
That would have to probably be Stu.
It is. Stu's making a big jump this week. He's 3 and 2. He's won 2 in a row. He started off the year pretty strong. He fell almost to the bottom, but he's won the last 2.
I don't know. Did he start a full roster last week? So I think it was 2 weeks in a row he started a player that didn't play, but he won. So you can't argue.
He's managing it correctly, and he doesn't have a bad bench.
No, his receivers are good.
He's dealing with some injuries, but when he gets Joe Mixon back, he has solid tight ends with Bowers and McBride, Jamar Chase and Mike Evans, Mahomes. He has a decent roster overall. He's just, when he got injured at the beginning of the year, I thought that would be it for him, but he's managed to work himself out of it. I think the hardest thing for him, he's in a really tough division.
For sure.
Coming at number 5.
Jeff.
You're on it. Yep. Jeff made the trade last week. He was able to get back on the winning side. Still dealing with some injuries, but you know what? If he's able to fight, the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe Tua comes back, and then Hill, is the top receiver again, I would imagine.
I would not disagree with that.
Puka, you would expect him to come off IR sometime soon. I didn't hear that his was a long-term injury.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be eligible to come back. So Jeff, as long as he can, that Brian Thomas trade helped him out a lot. As long as he can stay where he's at, I think he'll be in it till the end.
I agree.
Coming at number 4, I have
Kurt, but that's a big drop for him.
That's what I have him too, though.
Okay.
4,
well,
we have
everyone
Kurt.
else won, so yeah.
Kurt was the number 1 seed for a while. He was on a 4-game winning streak. He finally loses to you. We talked about it. Don't love his lineup, but it was hard to put him anywhere else since he was the only undefeated team.
Mm-hmm.
He finally loses, so I see him dropping fast. And then we'll see what happens the rest of the year. He's still dealing with some injuries with Cooper Kupp on his bench, but don't love RB2, don't love receiver 2, even though it's Mooney who had a big game.
I don't think you can count on Mooney every week, but he'll get you 50 yards every week, but that last week was spectacular for everybody on Atlanta except Bijan.
So coming at number 3.
Joey.
You're right.
Because there's no way you didn't jump Joey with weekly high score for yourself. I just hope you didn't jump yourself to 1. We'll see how it goes.
Coming in at number 3, we got Joey. I know he'll be mad. He's
sure.
actually won 4 in a row. We talked about it, though. He only scored about 102 points last week. His bench is a lot thinner than it was a few weeks ago. Although he's winning, he's still dealing with a lot of injuries. Devontae Adams is out again. Malik Neighbors is out again. Has a thin bench. So he won 4 in a row. So
It was a perfect situation. Pat would have been 1-1. Joey would have been 1-1. Instead, Pat's 0-1. Joey's 1-0.
Yep.
So that's where the median's kind of cool to take some of the luck, some of the matchup out of it. If you were interested in doing that.
Yeah. So Joe sticks at 3. Coming in at number 2.
I put yourself.
Unfortunately, it is myself.
It is you.
You were right. I'm leader of the division, the JV division, at 3-2. Had the high scoring week. Last week actually had the highest scoring week of the season. Led in part Garrett Wilson. Finally had got a ton of targets.
22 targets.
That's what I didn't expect 22 targets,
no one
but I
expects 22 targets in a game.
I expected him to get a lot more targets throughout the beginning of the year. I don't know what happened last week that it finally happened. Also had a big week out of my defense, which I have the number 1 D, and I picked them up
Minnesota?
off. Yeah.
And I grabbed Denver, they're number 2.
Waivers a couple weeks ago, and they've actually been producing.
Yeah.
So, and then Lamar had a 50-point game or so.
He looked really good versus Cincinnati.
And then number 1, we have
Crown holder Abbott.
SA Quarantine, winner of 3 in a row. Talked about it. Has a pretty solid team all around. Deep bench, good at running back, solid receivers.
Did you finish yours?
No.
Oh, it's up past the sticker then.
Has a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of people interested in making him trades.
I don't know if that's. I think I don't. Well,
That's just
not
the
now.
rumor has it. That's in the rumor mill.
Yeah, well, the rumor mill's always churning.
That's in the rumor mill. Has a lot of people offering him trades, but doesn't want to do anything unless it's over the top. So Abbott is one.
Abbott's one. You did mention Wilson. I forgot to go over it. We could pretty much X out Richardson. He didn't play again. He's on the quarterback 27. That's quarterback 3. You know, and 27. I think Flacco's the guy. I think they're better with Flacco.
Yeah.
I think Flacco helps.
He was a full participant today, though.
It sounds like he's back. Olave blew our ladder. He would have had a catch on the sideline. He dropped it. That would have put us 25 yards. But Olave, he got 2 points. He's wide receiver 33. And now that Derek Carr is out,
Yeah.
the Rattler is saying Olave's a star. I got to get him the ball. So we'll see if his targets go up to 22. You know.
Yeah.
Wilson, like we said, had 22 targets. He got 24.6 points. He's now wide receiver 19. You called him for a breakout game last week, but I believe you called him for a breakout game like 3 weeks in a row. So you were right.
I've been known to do that.
Yeah. But you're right. You can't score if you don't shoot, right? You miss
Yeah.
that 100% of the shots you don't take. Drake London, monster game, 29.4 points. That moves him to wide receiver 9. So now he's in the wide receiver 1 territory, 1 through 12, you know. I really like Drake London. I think he's so good, and he didn't do it on 22 targets, but he had a nice game. And then Pickens, he was, I guess, sort of benched for half the game. He got 4 points. He's down to wide receiver 36. So he's the worst wide receiver out of this group. Olave, Wilson, and London are all higher ranked than he is now. So be interesting to see with his little missteps last week with his eye black and his face mask at the end of the game, if that's a squeaky wheel gets grease, or if that's he already got sort of benched for half the game. We'll do it again to see if something happens. You know.
When it happened last year, then he ended up having his biggest game of the year the following week. I'm pretty sure.
What happened?
So, when he got into trouble where he did something, and then the next week.
Well, I think 2 weeks ago he was jogging his routes, and they benched him for that. They sort of benched him.
He did something last year. I remember he was in the doghouse, and then he came out against Cincinnati and scored a bunch of touchdowns.
Well, that's a good. Cincinnati's defense is god awful. Who did they play this week? Oakland. Yeah, I think outside of Crosby, there's not a ton of talent on
Wilkins
this
is
team.
out.
Yeah, everyone,
So-
well, they're changing the quarterback. There's a lot of
But
big
that's what
moves.
Abby said last week, and look what happened. So
Well, that's just, they got to be focused. They should win, but is it at home?
no, it's in Vegas.
So it's home because there'll be more Steeler fans there.
That's everywhere.
So this week, the marquee game of the week is myself at 2-3 versus you at 3-2. You're projected to score 119. I'm projected 106. I get Jalen Hurts off a bye. You mentioned Chuba versus Atlanta. Roshan Johnson with a really nice matchup against Jacksonville. My man A.J. Brown's back after a big 3-game injury. Deontay Johnson versus Atlanta. Cole Kmet, my new guy. And then T. Higgins versus the Giants. That's what I'm excited about. For your side, Lamar versus Washington. That should be a really good battle. Lamar and Jaden Daniels. That should be fun. Taylor at Tennessee. But
He's probably going to be out.
I don't think Taylor's playing. Josh Jacobs at Arizona. There should be no problem running in Arizona. Garrett Wilson versus Buffalo. We'll see if the new offensive coordinator the head coach changed, and they said the OC is not going to be calling plays anymore. So we'll see what that changes. I would expect a lot more Breece Hall than they've been using because he's been terrible this year. Amari Cooper, who is like inches away from being a superstar, I think he's just trying to play his way out of Cleveland because
that would be awesome for my fantasy
it sounds
team.
like they're going to be trading him. George Kittle, who I think is the best tight end in the league right now. Jerome Ford, who is fading fast. I know that you have Taylor and Kittle and Jacobs, and they're both guys that can't explode. Who are you putting in? Kareem's on a bye.
I'll have to put
Tyrone
in
Tracy. Cincinnati, another non-defense. I'm going to take myself because it's only right, but I'm not overly confident in this week's matchup.
I'm going to take myself. It worries me a little bit that Taylor's on. Will probably be out. But other than that, I like where I'm at right now. No more injury designations, and hopefully Kittle can have a couple touchdowns tonight.
Yeah. Next matchup, big matchup. It's Jeff versus Joey. Jeff's at 3-2. Joey's at 4-1. Jeff is projected to win 111 to 109, so he's a slight favorite. Jeff's rolling out Jaden Daniels, Rashard White, Kenneth Walker, who's awesome, and I don't think the San Fran defense is as formidable as it once was. Calvin Ridley, who I really like. I think he could be. I'd like him better to flex, but I think he can have boom weeks.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas for Chicago, so we'll see how that defense plays him. Kyle Pitts, who I think he should have did everything in his power to try to trade Kyle Pitts last week on the one good game he had. Keenan Allen, who I think is absolutely worthless, but it looks like everybody else is on a bye. Everyone's harder on a bye. He has no bench whatsoever. So Joey saved them for this week too with the two receivers. On the other side, Jordan Love versus Arizona. He should thrive. Bryant Robinson at Baltimore. You cannot run on Baltimore. You can absolutely pass on him. You cannot run on him. Braylon Allen at Buffalo. Again, we just mentioned Breece Hall probably getting more game plan, so who knows what Braylon Allen's going to do. Amon-Ra at Dallas. He's had a quieter season. I haven't heard about him blowing up yet. Malik Neighbors, who I don't think is practicing yet either.
No.
So he's probably going to have to come out. Dalton Kincaid at the Jets. Jaden Reed in his flex, so that's not bad. I would put Neighbors in the flex because he's the latest game and he's the biggest question. And if Neighbors doesn't go, we're talking Wan'Dale Robinson or Dontavian Wicks. So does he want two Green Bay receivers in along with the Green Bay quarterback? I don't know. I'm going to take Jeff in this one. I think Kenneth Walker and Jaden Daniels look really good, and Brian Thomas is a stud. So we'll see how that plays out.
I'm staying with the same. With the Neighbors injury, if he's out, I don't love Joey's second receiver or Braylon Allen. Looking at Joey's roster now, he's very deep at receiver. But other than Williams and Robinson, he's thin at running back there. It's going to be hard to replace, whenever one of those guys is on bye. And especially with Neighbors out, Adams out, I'm sticking with Jeff.
How's the Sunny D vodka?
It's good. Tastes like
Better than the
Sunny D,
champagne, huh?
yeah.
Well, moving on. The Crumb Slashers versus SA Quarantine. I'm taking Abbott. I haven't even got it pulled up yet. Abbott's 4-1. Palmer's 2-3. Abbott's projected to win 114-98. Currently, there's no one in Palmer's flex. It could be Gibson or Jawan Jennings. Trey Sermon. I think Trey Sermon has an issue or something. So he has Dak and Brees Hall, like we talked about Brees Hall. James Cook is questionable on Monday night, so that sucks. He ain't going to really know. Debo, who needs to really get going. JSN, who's had a decent year. Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram is really good. He's one of my – I really like George Kittle. I really like Evan Ingram.
He's been hurt all year.
Lawrence targets him a lot, but he can't stay healthy. On the other side, Jared Goff at Dallas. Barkley and Henry are back versus Cleveland and Washington, so we'll see if those two get going. Ayuk, who came off a pretty good game last week. Chris Godwin, the interesting thing about this, I think that's what sets him over. I love Mike Evans. Everyone knows I like Mike Evans, but they're playing New Orleans. And do you know what cornerback plays on New Orleans? Marshawn Lattimore, who gets Evans into a fight, thrown out. He gets in Evans' head every single time. So when Evans, is Latimer screwing with Evans, Godwin will be breaking the slot open, and I think Godwin blows up. I would bet over on Godwin's yards and under on Evans' yards if you're looking for a free play. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think this one, Abbott wins in a landslide. I don't think it's close. Tim is beat up. He has an empty flex right now. And I know you love Godwin.
I like him this week.
You like him this week?
I don't like Godwin.
I don't know if he has Diggs on the bench, and with Nico being out, I don't know if I don't find a spot for him in my lineup as well. Just looking at Matt's team, Diggs and Pollard are on his bench right now. Palmer would love to have either one of those guys to put in his flex. I think Abbott just has too much going.
So that's where it is right there. He has too many running backs. Joey could have easily got any quarterback off the waiver wire and traded Brian Thomas for Pollard. And
that would have been.
Then he has a legitimate. I don't know that Abbott makes that trade because Joey's that much. They're both very even at that point.
Yeah, you could have figured something out there because looking at his roster, Ayuk started to blow up. Finally broke out last week. Godwin, just as you said, it's hard to bench him against the Saints. And so who do you put in your flex? Montgomery, Diggs, or Pollard?
Yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches. Should have traded one of them for a quarterback last week.
I think he needs to upgrade his quarterback and his tight end.
Next game, that's my favorite matchup. Army of Northern Virginia versus Grants Union Army.
Ooh.
Kurt's 4-1, Pat's 1-4. Pat's projected to lose by 8. We talked about a banged-up Josh Allen versus Jets defense. The Jets get that fired coach bump, I'm sure, so they might be something to watch out for. I don't like Javonte Williams. Jordan Mason is still good, except Thursday versus Seattle. I'm not sure. Seattle, I know their defense is decent. I'm not sure how their run defense is. CeeDee Lamb versus Detroit. That should be a high-scoring affair. I thought he would have crushed last week. He didn't, but we'll see if it goes this way. Darnell Mooney, we both like Sam Laporta's looking good. McLaurin, I think McLaurin has a really good game because I'm assuming Baltimore's going to score. Washington's going to have to score back, and you can throw on Baltimore, but McLaurin's pretty much their only receiving target. For Pat Burrow, coming off a monster game versus the Giants, he should have no problem there. Dobbins at Denver. I like Dobbins, but Denver's a really good defense. Rico Dowdle at Detroit. That's another good run defense there. Drake London at Carolina. I really like Drake London. He has Tank Dell sliding in there to take the Nico role. Tucker Kraft, who had a great game last week, but who knows how long he can make, if that was a fluke or if that's legitimate. And then Rashid Shaheed, which doesn't have a quarterback now, and the new quarterback said he was going to target Olave, so we'll see. I'm actually taking Pat in this one. I think it's, Allen hurt versus the Jets versus Burrow with the Giants. Burrow could put up another 45 points. Easy.
Yeah, this one's actually close. I don't love either one of the teams right now, the way their lineups are with the injuries that they have and the people they have on the bench. I think it's close. I'm just gonna go with Kurt just to go opposite you and maybe pick up an extra game.
I wonder if Pat's looking about that Murray situation. He's sitting there with Kyler Murray on the bench, Dallas Goedert on the bench. He has decent pieces that just aren't gonna get in. But
Well, he probably didn't update his lineup yet because I know I mean it's tough.
I definitely start Burrow over Kyler.
Yeah, Burrow's in. I might think about putting Jameson Williams in over Shaheed with coming off the quarterback situation there.
Yeah.
I might
Especially
think about
Dallas's pass defense isn't that great.
I might think about putting Goddard in over Kraft. So I think he can make some changes.
Yeah.
I don't love Dowdle as a running back either.
I don't either. You don't want to hear this, but he went up against a weaker run defense last week, and he blew up, and he didn't do well versus Baltimore. He did really good He did good the first 2 games of the year. Nothing at Baltimore, and then did well again against the Steelers. So
Yeah, 87 yards.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not
Yeah.
fantastic, but if you would ask me before the game, is Dowdle going to get 90 yards? I would say no, and he did.
You would have been right. 87.
Well, Stu versus Tagmar. Tagmar needs this game. Stu's 3-2. Tagmar's 1-4. The projections aren't right. He doesn't have he has Russell Wilson on his bench, and he has Patrick Mahomes on his starting. Ramondre Stevenson's questionable. Tyler Algier is a fine number 2. His big things are going to be Evans and Chase. Mixon might be back this week, so that helps him. Trey McBride's been doing okay since he's been back. For Tagmar, Kirk Cousins, Carolina shouldn't be much of a challenge. Jahmyr Gibbs versus Dallas should be decent. James Conner is playing fantastic. Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr., see if he can get back together. DK Metcalf, will find out what he's doing tonight. And Njoku is back healthy sort of this week. DJ Moore versus Jacksonville. He has pretty good matchups. I'm actually going to take Tagmar, so I'm not 100% sure that Stu puts a quarterback in.
I agree with you there. Stu doesn't have a backup quarterback on his bench that
is playing an NFL game.
Are positive is playing. I also don't love his second running back. I don't love either one of his running backs now that I look at it.
I think there's only one team with a good second running back, and that's Abbott.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have really anyone on his bench. Okay, Mixon's in his flex.
Yeah.
So, yeah, start Stevenson and Mixon.
I'm not
if
sure.
They're healthy, then maybe throw somebody else in your flex. Throw Brock Bowers in your flex. But I said it last week against Tags that I was going to pick Abbott as long as he started a quarterback.
Yeah.
And Abbott actually didn't even have to start a quarterback to beat him because his quarterback didn't play until Monday night, and he already won the game before that. So I just have to pick Stu based off of the fact that Stu doesn't have a quarterback. We're in the same situation as last week. He's playing Tags. He's probably going to win.
Last game on the slate, the Rough Cats versus Return Doubtful. Prize 1-4, Jack's 2-3. Jack's projected to win 107-104. Bry Guy's rolling out Baker Mayfield, who we all love, but that's a tough New Orleans defense. Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, both good matchups. Carolina, Jacksonville. Chris Olave, the talk of the town. Devontae Smith comes back. So he has 2 number 2-ish receivers. Tyler Conklin is here or there. Steelers defense versus the Raiders, which should be pretty good. Najee versus the Raiders, which I don't like. For Tags, Brock Purdy, and we're talking about ETN again. He might not even be playing. Kamara is a superstar, though. He'll be fine. Pickens, he's being plagued by ETN and Pickens right now. Cortland Sutton, if you get 8 points out of him, I think you're happy. Ferguson's been decent. Tajay Spears, I don't even know. Has he been playing this year? Pollard's in Tennessee, isn't he? So
yeah, Spears has gotten some carries, but he broke 10 points one time.
Okay, so there it is. Justin Jefferson on the bye. That's the big hole that I was looking at for. Oh, and then Zamir White. He's been underachieving this year on Jack's bench. I think I'm going to take. Man,
This is a tough one to pick.
this is really tough. I love Kamara. I don't like Etienne. I don't like Pickens.
The last two games,
Really close games.
not the, Pat and Kurt in this game, I think, are very close.
Yeah. I'm gonna take. I think maybe you could throw Roma Dunze in for Najee. I think Max Crosby's gonna eat him up. I'm gonna take Bry in this matchup.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning that way too. Give me, yeah.
That's
You know
tough,
what?
these are some tough games.
Just to go opposite, I'll go with give me
Jack.
Jack.
So we
I
went
can
different
see,
on 4
you know,
games.
I'm gonna go. George Pickens has a big game,
Based on nothing.
just based on skill.
Because Olave doesn't have skill, Etienne doesn't have skill. Everyone in the NFL has skill. You gotta have the want, you have the desire, you have to run your routes, not jog them.
You'll see GP open.
They
Always.
are furious about that. I heard the ownership was furious. They were talking about a marquee game Sunday night, everybody watching Dallas, Pittsburgh, and then this guy comes out with a swear word in the middle of his face, and I heard they were fuming. Tomlin plays it down because he's a really good. He'll never sell out his players in press conferences for sure. I know I can say that for sure. I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I did hear that the ownership was embarrassed and offended. I think it's the actual headline: embarrassed and offended. They also lost. I think if they win, no one says anything about it. But when you get 2 catches or whatever he had, it's a real issue. For just about 40 minutes, the dogs were down here, and it sounds like Tara came home, so the dogs rolled up. We didn't get any interruptions. The bunch of burping from the champagne for both of us winning. We'll see if we can. Well, not this week.
Do it. Oh
Maybe
yeah,
in 2 weeks.
Damn it.
Maybe it'll be cold in 2 weeks too. Anything else? You got any big high school games coming up? You still a high school football nut?
I still watch it, but no, I don't pay as close attention. I don't know who they're playing. Baldwin's Homecoming's coming up.
Oh, big bonfire.
So they're playing Moon, maybe? They'll probably get crushed whoever they play.
Baldwin football's not great.
Not great is actually a compliment for what they are.
You know who is great? Eli Holstein and the Pitt Panthers. 5-0.
I think they might make the playoff.
I don't know if they're going to make the playoff.
Here's what I want. I want Pitt to finish the year ranked 12, Penn State ranked 5, so they play each other the first game.
It would be at Penn State, though. And so
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
You see Eli?
Eli's legit. The defense, however, is taking a major step back from this is the worst defense Narduzzi's ever had, and the best quarterback Narduzzi's had. So you can't always, can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess. You watch anything good?
No. I just started the starting 5 last night.
I was going to ask you about that. I didn't watch that, but they were talking about who was it that left to see his birth of his kid?
What? In the show?
In the show, yeah. I can't remember. Wasn't Anthony Davis? I'm not sure. It was one of the big guys, I think.
Well, it's LeBron, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Sabonis, and there's one more.
What is this?
Jimmy Butler.
What is this? Might have been Anthony
Edwards.
And what is this about? Like, what's starting 5?
It just follows
Just
those 5 players
okay.
behind the scenes.
That's cool.
Of
It's like a
last
Hard
year.
Knocks or like a quarterback's thing
Kinda.
like they did.
Yeah.
Started
only
watching
watched one
Mr.
episode.
McMahon. I watched 4 of 5 episodes so far.
How was it?
It's fantastic. But again, that was when I watched wrestling, was back
Yeah.
when like episode 3 and 4. The first one's about his dad and him first taking over, and like every region had their own wrestling, and they kind of let each other go. And then he came in and took all the talent from all the guys, so he took over the country. Episode 2 is about the steroid scandal that he was forcing his wrestlers, his performers, to take steroids and actually selling them to him. The third one is the WCW coming up. That's been the best one. That was with the NWO, and everyone left WWF at that time to go to WCW because for WWF they were wrestling 330 times a year, and for WCW it was like 40 times a year, and they made millions more. And then the fourth one was about him kind of coming back and The Rock and Stone Cold coming in and like the Attitude Era, and then him buying WCW, so all them guys coming back. And it's pretty cool about how the matches, like the wrestlers, hey, you're supposed to lose, and some of the wrestlers didn't lose, and
Interesting.
it's wild, and it's really cool that like Bret Hart actually fought Vince McMahon for real in the locker room because he was leaving for WCW and he was supposed to lose in Calgary, which was his hometown, but he didn't, and McMahon hit the bell on a post like it's cool, man. So he punched him in the locker room. He broke all the monitors off the tables, and it's pretty cool. It's real. Like, these guys are maniacs behind. They all think they're the biggest guy there, so everyone's fighting left and right. It's awesome. So I'll probably finish that
check
tomorrow.
it out.
If you like wrestling, it's awesome. I was telling Jack about it. I don't even know. I was gonna look and see who we need to root for this week in our division, but I don't even.
Everyone probably lose.
Palmer,
you and
Pat.
I might be the only ones that win.
Yeah, well,
One
maybe
of us.
we'll tie. If we tie, we'll drink champagne.
Yes.
That's all I got. You good?
I'm good.
We will see you next week. Good luck to everybody in other division.
Adios.